Okay, well, what with my wellies on, let's see if we can get down here and watch out for snakearoonies, because they might be out now warming up. But I'll see if I can get, at least the wellies give you a chance, you know. We might want to go down to the water's edge and walk along and see if we can get round the bend that way. You never know, we might discover something, because I don't think I did this section because I didn't have the boots on. And we got the vetch. Have I given the story about Picket Range Road, when I used to either walk up there or go with the bike and then dump the bike in the bush and do my thing for, I think I had like an hour and a half in the bush looking at the sea piece, and I had to come home to pick up my son from kindergarten sort of thing. And so it was a rush, and you didn't want to get a flat tire or something and have to carry the bike, you know, on your shoulders sort of thing, down the hill sort of thing, and finally get to the, you know, dump it at your house and then get to the kindergarten very quick, smart, you know, quick sticks sort of thing. But as I said, I rounded the corner and by this letterbox, there was a couple of cans of white paint that had been, you know, washed out or tipped over or something. And by this letterbox, this one of these vetches, but it was like, oh, twice to 3 times the size at least. You know, it was like enormous. And you'd never seen a vetch that big in your life before, you know, sort of thing. Of course, I always kept this in the back of my mind, because all my research with the red organism, you can find that it's affected by aluminium and salt, or zinc. Your aluminium and a bit of salt is equivalent to just having a little bit of zinc there. And I'm thinking, and then we found that titanium oxide, I suppose, titanium salts, but they're hard to get hold of and they're pretty expensive too. Oh, there's a nice room. There's one there actually, but there's a nice Rumex over there. Did we miss that? Can you see that? But plantain. I mean, I wouldn't mind having something like that in the backyard, something like that. A banana that size would be reasonable. But as I said, I've got this Darwin book, and he mentions that he got a root from somewhere, and now it's growing, and he calculates it as roughly 80 centimetres tall, and said I went to someone's greenhouse, back in the late 90s I think it was, and the person wouldn't let me photograph this thing, and all he would tell me was he got it in a lump of soil from some lady in the southeast. So that's the southeast of southern Everlands, I think. In a lump of soil, just like Darwin got his thing in a lump of soil. So does that imply some sort of biological symbolism, mycorrhizal relationship again? Are we outside the bell-shaped curve, or are we actually inside the bell-shaped curve at 98%, you know? Take out the mustard family and one other, and yeah. I don't know what's going on in the nursery industry, the chemicals they use. I've been watching clips on YouTube over in England, Britain. They're having trouble with some chemical that affects broadleaf weeds sort of thing and related plants, affects strawberries, peas and beans, things like that. And I've had trouble with coir recently, and I always used to say that coir was salty, things like that, but no, I never had problems with coir before. I've had a few problems with coir of late, so whether it's just something going around the world or being down here the arse end of the world, you know, it's a bit like that pelletized stuff, the story I didn't quite get out the last few years, you know. In the old days, they had all these ads on TV about pelletized material, got you into the habit of thinking that all pelletized material would expand up, so you would at least double the size, maybe more, you know, with your coir bricks swelling up and things like that, and your pelletized material, because now most pelletized material just falls to pieces in the bucket. So you buy something like a 5 litre bag thinking it's going to turn into 20 litres, and thinking, well, it's a little bit pricey, but at least I'll have 20. Oh, look at that Rumex. Can you imagine having a Banata? I would be happy with a Banata in this sort of size, robustness, thickness of petioles and things like that. apparently with Darwin, he got a hair one up to 80 centimetres, you know, including the hands and everything. You know, the bifurcated leaves. So yeah, makes you wonder, doesn't it? There's a lack of knowledge, or we're just being fed on cabal shit. Yeah, it's a bit like a cabal, you know. The common man, we the people are outside the cabal, and we're just being fed on cabal shit. And of course, by the time push comes to shove, we find out what's been going on for the last 20, maybe 50 years. All these people have shuffled off the mortar coal, made all their squillions of dollars, and, you know, invested in their massive estates and stuff. And they're not here to actually pay to receive the punishment, a tithe for their crimes, sort of thing, you know. And of course, we've got this rule that, you know, you shouldn't punish the children for the sins of their fathers, sort of thing. But you might see that how egregious the sins of the father are. I mean, it's a bit like that quiz show. One of the points in the I love the film Quiz Show. I like to watch it like once a year if I'm able to. He says, "You do know you've got my name," sort of thing. In that way, it's the opposite way round. It's the father being punished for the sins of the son, rather than the son being punished for the sins of the father, sort of thing. So yeah. Anyway, may want to cross here. Yeah. Oh, do you see that bubble? Is it a bubble of carbon dioxide coming up from taddy down the bottom, or is it a bubble of oxygen coming off from the plant? More likely the bubble of oxygen, due to its location, coming up from the plant. Somewhat aquatic to semi-aquatic plant, under 2 feet of water. Well, I do like my Rumex. It's a good model plant. You know, you got your Rumex, you got your rhubarb, and then you got your Gunnera, which is like giant rhubarb. And of course, Gunnera does actually have cynophatic locules in the stem, basically, if you want to call it that. So whether these can actually be made to go the same way, sort of thing, you know, it's just that, you know, from the knowledge from these plants, you can actually make, because there's a lot of plants out there with the term buck in them. Have you noticed that? You've got buckwheat, buck this, and they all have this sort of, you know, rapid growth, typical seasonal growth, sort of thing. They can come out of seasons very rapidly and have this extraordinary growth. There's also this concept with these plants like rhubarb, asparagus, and horseradish and things like that, and groups of that ilk respond to like a tablespoon of salt in a watering can. And you know, what is the connection, sort of thing, between salt, and is there a connection between salt and CPs? You know, we're the saltiest continent on the planet, the most bushfire-prone continent on the planet. Is there some connection between charcoal, salt, and CPs, sort of thing? Because as I said, going over to WA, all the weeds were the same, but quite a lot of the weeds were thicker, more robust, more, you know, like 2 shades darker in the flowers, slightly richer in the green colour. You can measure the thickness with a micrometer and notice there was a difference, and things like that. So what is the difference between WA and here? And we're just talking about common weeds, sort of thing, you know, common you know, European to semi-European weeds that really haven't had enough time to evolve here, you know, and even they are responding over there. They haven't been here for millions of years evolving to be like that. These are common European weeds that have been seconded here on ships and things like that, and passengers, and have only basically had 100 to 200 years max, and yet they're responding in the same sort of fashion. So well, what is it, sort of thing? Anyway, we'll just get over here and start a new clip, I think. I'm gas bagging as usual, but some people do like the gas bags. It gets them thinking. This is like a scatterbrain approach, but You know, the tropic is so vast. And see up there in that line along there used to be pygmea growing there, glandulizera, various peltata foliosa, hookii sort of relation up there, and of course the lady with the spray bottle came through there a few years ago, about 5 years ago now, and wiped them out, sort of thing. Previous to that, she'd wiped out orchids over there, terrestrial native orchids. As I said, you should never hit a woman, but in her case, I think she's the exception to the rule. I think you may want to actually whack her over the head with a decent sized tome of a book, sort of thing. I mean, with some detailed knowledge about son. You know, I think she said once, Sunju's native or something. So we're the one continent on the planet with the most CPs. So we like Sunju Central to a certain extent. Now, Africa does have a lot too, because they have more elevation over there, and whereas we're quite flat. So you know the sunlight goes a long way. You know, it doesn't get trapped between valleys and things like that, and also larger grain size, fills up with water more easily, becomes more anaerobic more easily if the grain size is larger. Sort of thing. It's counterintuitive. The larger the grain size, you wouldn't think it would be wetter. You know, you wouldn't think it, but you only need half. As you double the grain size, you only need half as much to saturate it, so therefore it gets to anabiosis faster and for longer. Basically, if you keep getting it topped up, if the season is longer, extended, and you keep getting little bits of rain, you keep that soil topped up and anaerobic, sort of thing. So anyway, time to start a new dish from the satellite dish. Okay.